Ha ha ha! We're here, and that was
Yay.
almost on time.
Oh,
We do have legacy tokens set up.
Yay.
I managed to get that right in at the very last minute. Greetings. Good evening, everyone. I'm Lonnie.
I'm Amber.
And we are Untitled Nerd Network, brought to you by Infinity Flux out of Hickson, Tennessee. And this is the 106th episode of The Spoiling Dead, our almost weekly, weekly when the show's on,
we
review of The Walking Dead. And, I've actually started to have requests for us to do Fear the Walking Dead.
Ugh.
I've had people, ask, and I was like, season 1 was great.
Yeah, it was.
Season 2, to me, sucked.
I watched, the first
Half.
2 episodes, 3, and then I was like,
And I think I actually did watch through the end of season 2, because whenever I quit watching, they ended up on this little, ranch in Mexico.
I did see that, yes.
And, there was this woman who wanted her son to die or something. There was, a big fire.
Yeah.
And I
do
really
remember that.
I barely remember.
I must have watched it was season 3 where it was just like...
Yeah, well, I've heard that since it has gotten really good. It's kind of like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I watched season 1, it was really neat. Season 2 was really cool. And then I kind of lost focus and give a crap during season 3. But now everybody's like, oh, it's on season 6 or 7 now. And holy crap.
Amazing.
They're like, it's gotten better with each season.
Oh, well.
We're already doing Supernatural.
I love it.
But at the same time, this is the last episode of this half of The Walking Dead. After a week from tonight, we're not going to have any new shows. The Orville's going to be done. Walking Dead's going to be done.
I guess we're just going to have to do more Supernatural.
Probably.
Oh, yay.
So.
I'm really excited.
But anyway, our legacy tokens are live. To the best of my knowledge, we are doing 20 legacy tokens per 10 minutes watched.
Unless you changed it yet.
That's what we typically do for a...
Reviews, because they're short.
Yeah, review. Yeah, they're really short. We want everybody to get their legacy tokens worth. And it looks like that's going on pretty good.
Yay.
But without further ado, let's talk about the episode tonight. This was really a Eugene-centric episode.
It was.
Basically, his struggles with whether he's gonna... we find out, apparently Gabriel did not get bit. He just got sick.
He just got sick, randomly.
Bad sick.
He got the flu or some shit. I
yeah,
don't
but
know.
it's starting to cause, his organs to fail and stuff. And, they're looking for maybe some herbs and things like that.
Because they can't get out and steal nothing because
it's surrounded by zombies. The sanctuary completely is surrounded by zombies. So basically, Eugene decides finally to get make a little glider with a speaker on it, and he's gonna fly it out over the zombies.
Where'd he get the MP3 player? That's important.
I mean, I don't really consider it that important.
It is important.
I mean, regardless, it was he actually went down into the basement, and I guess they have a storage, big storage warehouse of Negan's greatest hits.
Shut
and they had a coffin down there, the same one that they used during the season finale, where Sasha was stored, for lack of a better word. So he got her MP3 player out of there, because it was still there. I'm actually very surprised somebody didn't snatch it out. I'm actually very surprised they managed to get the coffin back with all the gunfire and everything that was going on. I couldn't remember that they had gotten the vehicle. And even so, the coffin was propped up horizontally.
That was kind of weird.
Vertically.
Yeah. That they still had it, and the MP3 player was still in there.
Yeah, you think an MP3
He had a pretty good idea.
Oh, it was a great idea.
Strapping that.
And of course, Dwight interrupts him. I mean, they had a little heart-to-heart earlier in the episode.
And was like, he was basically like, you better quit or I'm telling you. And then he's like, I'm not quitting, so.
Yeah.
Thought that was the rundown of that.
So, at the end, he almost tells on Dwight. And then Dwight shows up and he can't
He's
bring
a coward.
himself.
He's a coward.
Yeah, he is.
Why.
He don't want to say it in front of him.
Which I don't think it matters either way. And I really thought he was going to, because he went in there and told Gabriel, I'm going to do whatever I got to do to survive.
And it's funny because
I can live with myself for what I do and blah, blah, blah. Well, then he still didn't have the balls to tell him to Dwight in front of him.
He'll do it. He just don't want to go rat somebody out right in front of him.
Why not?
I don't know.
What's he going to do?
Guilt somehow. Maybe he knows deep down that he's not doing the right.
Afraid he might hit him or something right there. I don't know. But I wouldn't think he's going to do shit for a Negan.
I don't know.
I don't know what he's thinking. Maybe he does have a bit of a conscience left. Who knows?
Yeah, like he knows that he's just watching out for himself.
He does. And he tries to play it off to everybody else. Several times in this episode, he's like, they refer to Rick and them as his friends. Oh no, they're just traveling companions.
Yeah.
Bull fucking shit. Don't go there. You just trying to act like that so nobody kills you. I mean, if they weren't his friends, he wouldn't have tried to help Sasha out.
Yeah.
You know.
Pretty much.
He would have told on Dwight right then and there. That's just my opinion.
Oh yeah, I mean that's the way it's going. That was really, really a solid episode. Like right there, the little face off when Eugene's getting ready to send that glider out, and he and Dwight have that, and then
he basically tells him, "Go ahead and blow my brains out because I don't care. I'm gonna die regardless."
Daryl and Tara and Michonne. And I think Rosita was there, wasn't she?
Yeah, but she left.
They drove this like dump truck into Sanctuary, and like the whole episode.
And Morgan was there too. He was with the snipers.
The whole episode was building up to that, and
let me tell you, that was boring as shit.
The build up was boring, but once they
finally started getting things rolling, and things started rolling with Eugene, pretty much like the last 20 minutes of the show.
It was, but the last half.
Because the first half was just like, oh my god, this is killing me. It's killing my soul.
But, yeah, I mean, it was just kind of like a slow burn up to the very end. And then we got to see Rick continue his back and forth with the junkyard people, and
he won that shit.
Yeah, he ended up,
awesome.
And it was really impressive because the final showdown at the very end, they kept him locked up all day, or probably a couple of days.
Yeah.
And he was in like this hot box, this old storage container, metal storage container. He was sweating, he was hot. They probably wasn't giving him water or food. And in his weakened state, he managed to overpower 3 fully rested and fully powered individuals and a reinforced zombie.
Yeah.
With his hands tied.
Yes.
His hands were bound.
His hands were bound, but see, the zombie was on a big, like, staff, about like this, okay? And he's using this staff, and he's just knocking everybody out. He must have took some lessons from Morgan.
That's a real possibility, actually.
Saying, yeah.
Like, he may have. You never know.
Probably did. It was just like, wow.
But anyway, while he was touching the zombie with the 10-foot pole, he actually managed to overpower all of them, including the woman who was the leader.
Yes.
And he had basically her pinned down. Like, he tore the zombie's head off with that stick, which was probably the coolest move.
That was pretty cool.
It wasn't as cool, but that was this episode's rocket launch.
Yes. The episodes before splitting in half zombie.
Yeah. So, I mean,
they've had some really good effects so far this season.
Yeah, this season, they've really upped it on the visuals.
Mm-hmm. Love it.
But, yeah, I mean, that was really cool.
It was just like, Because every time he would hit them with a stick, it'd rip it off the shoulders just a little bit more. You could hear it go.
Yeah, you could hear the flesh ripping.
And finally, the head was off.
And so they he ends up like winning, and convinces them, hey, come back with me. Well, the woman it was kind of funny. It wasn't even really that major of a plot point. It was just kind of thrown in there for laughs, I guess, or to further hammer home that this. God, I wish I could remember her name. I did know it. It was some weird name, but she has had a thing for Rick.
Since she made him.
Since day one. Like, she actually was, like, wanting to procreate with him.
Yes.
And, let me see if I can find this here.
Well, I'm sure she sensed he was a very good warrior.
Oh, Jadis. Or Jadis. And, that's her name. Mm-hmm. They're actually called the Scavengers. I continue calling them the Garbage Pail Kids.
Because that's what they are.
But yeah, she actually wanted part of the deal to be Rick to pose nude and let her sculpt him, which was great. For me, I'd have been like,
"Makes you like one of my French women."
If it had been, I'd have been like, ta-da!
Right.
I mean, whatever.
Whatever works for her. At any rate,
she almost. This is the thing. She almost strikes me as. She's probably not had any kind of relations with the men in the group. She almost seems like, hey, I'm the alpha female. I'm only going to be intimate with another alpha male.
Oh, yeah.
We got to find us another leader of a group somewhere, and that's who I'm getting. Oh,
yeah. I can totally see that.
This reminds me almost to the letter, and you may not be familiar with it, but the Morlocks and X-Men, and it was really... It was illustrated in the cartoon in the first season where Callisto was like the female leader of the Morlocks. These basically ugly mutants who lived underground in like deep tunnels, sewers and stuff.
Yeah.
And they captured Cyclops and Jean Grey while they were out on a date one night, and she wanted to have Cyclops as her life mate for breeding purposes, basically.
Obviously, yeah.
And Storm ended up defeating her in combat. That was the cartoon version of it anyway. And this is basically the same story to an extent, except instead of the sewers, they're in the dumpster or the junkyard.
And
Rick beat her with a staff.
Yeah,
it's almost like somebody's been reading X-Men at the Walking Dead showroom. Of course, Kirkman is a big comic book guy, and he did write X-Men for a while.
But anyhow, so he defeats them and all that, and then he's like, I got all this planned out, this is what we're going to do, blah, 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 blah. Get there, and what do they see, honey?
An empty field.
Oh, yes.
There are no zombies there anymore.
Nobody's answering nobody's answering the walkie-talkies. There's no zombies.
Here's the thing.
Nada.
Did they get all the zombies in there and kill them? Did they figure out a way to usher the zombies away? Is everybody still at Sanctuary? Are they gone? What has happened?
I mean, that's the question, and we won't find out till next week.
Yep.
But I'm thinking that, they've escaped or something because, we watched previews for next week. And, they were trying to travel or whatever, and somebody had blocked the road with the trees.
And we all know the Saviors can do that.
Yes. So, I don't know. So, yeah.
I don't think we've seen the end of altered zombies.
Oh, no.
The junkyard people seem to have a never-ending supply of those things.
I mean, it's like they save them or something.
Eugene has already shown that he can pour hot and molten steel or whatever over their heads and reinforce them that way. And has even learned how to weld them to the fence. So, it's looking pretty good. They're going to end up the show is really picking up steam. The first couple episodes were good, and then we kind of hit a mid half season slump. I think it was episodes 3, 4, and maybe 5. 3 and 4, I know, were ugh, what? I mean, it was they had some parts, but aside from a couple of highlights, they weren't really. I was rating them in the 7s, and normally Walking
only
Dead.
because they didn't have your man on there. We've already discussed that.
Yeah, but it still was boring.
It wasn't that boring. Was not that boring. This episode was.
Here's the thing. If I say that it's not up to par with what I expect, I love The Walking Dead. It's my favorite show.
Dead, but now that Negan is on,
but here's the thing.
Judging
if I say that Walking Dead is amazing, and then I suddenly say, oh, it had a mediocre off week, everybody else is like, oh, the show just needs to end now. It sucks. Because whereas I tend to rate Walking Dead in the 8s and 9s week to week, and these drop down to a 6.5 or a 7, the general public, or especially the people I see talking online, they drop it down to a 3. And they're like, cancel it already. We're done. I haven't watched. But my favorite thing is I haven't watched since the beginning of season 7. It was just too violent. Yeah, because Negan showed up and killed everybody.
Time Rifter's on, and he says he thinks it does that every season.
It does, because...
there's a few... And there are filler episodes every season,
Season 1 wasn't like that, because...
It was short.
It was, number one, it was 6 episodes long, and it was, they really had to introduce everybody. They had a lot of ground to cover in the first season. Season 2, yes, season 2 was very much like that, because you had the first episode, which was really good. Carl got shot at the end of it. Remember the first episode? And then, aside from wondering how Carl was doing, it was really, the only other decent thing going on during the episode was when Daryl was climbing that mountain that time, and he got an arrow stuck in his side, and he was all beat up. And he saw hallucinations of his brother up on the top. The episode Chupacabra, that was a really good episode. But
Time Rifter says maybe we should just watch the season premiere, the mid-season finale, and the season finale. LOL.
There are people who do that, obviously, because the ratings are really high. And that's pretty rough, because I think I read somewhere a couple of weeks ago that this season's ratings are at a 4-year low.
Yeah.
The lowest they've been since the end of season 2 or something like that.
Yeah.
And to be honest,
But this is a long story they're telling.
And this season is not tailored to be what we're used to.
Yeah.
Okay, you had season 1 introducing everybody. It was great. Season 2, it got a little slow at the farm. There were some really classic episodes there, but overall the season dragged. Season 3, we got the governor. And I think the governor storyline was dragged out a little long. I never really saw him as a cool villain. I mean, he was okay.
I liked him. He's not Negan, but I liked him. And especially when they gave his background story, I loved it.
Oh, yeah. But I'm talking about, that was on into season 4.
Well, I'm just saying. In general, I'm not gonna divide it up in seasons and judge it by seasons, because I judge it as a story as a whole.
Well, it's...
Well, what?
It's the first...
It's all connecting.
It is, but I'm using it as a filing mechanism to be able to show people how this half compares to other parts of the seasons.
Okay.
That's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah,
I'm not
I appreciate that.
It's
I just don't care to think of it like that. And if more people thought of it less like that, it wouldn't be a thing.
The creators make it like that. They've actually come out and said, hey, each half season is a story in itself. Each season is those two halves put together for a larger overarching story. But each of those seasons can stand on their own. here's what I did. Time Rips has been watching since the beginning.
Yeah.
I watched season 1. I watched episode 1 and episode 2. I didn't care for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, there's a comic book story I'm going to tell in a minute. But episode 1, episode 2, I was like, episode 1 was cool. I didn't care for 2. Well, something happened and I just didn't watch 3.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't watch 4. Didn't watch 5. Didn't watch 6. And when season 2 rolled around, I was like, oh God, everybody's still watching Walking Dead. And I watched it. I can't remember why. I think I was living with Nick at the time or something.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw in like the ending where Carl got shot. I was like, holy crap. Well, by then, all the episodes from season 1 were on Netflix. So I sat down and watched them all. And I was like, why did I quit? Because, like, I quit watching right before he found his family.
Yeah.
And I'm like...
You weren't hooked? You didn't want to see him find his family?
I didn't care. And so I was like, holy crap. So since then, unless I'm working night shift, I've never missed it.
Mm-hmm.
I've watched every episode since the beginning of season 2. And, but anyway, like, the story behind me not liking The Walking Dead to begin with, and I've told this a couple of times, but we've got some new viewers, is I actually, back in 2003, I bought my comic books down at Legends in Rome, Georgia, and that's no longer open. The owner passed away. But anyway, the owner, Gordon Lee, I took his opinion like gospel. If he ever told me anything, it was the greatest book ever. But it just so happened this one day, I came in and I would buy $20, $30 worth of comic books a week, Hero Clicks and all this other stuff. And I had about 15 extra bucks. And I told him, I said, hey, you have anything you'd suggest? And, because I'd bought all the X-Men comics that month, and I just, I buy back issues all the time. I want something new. He said, yeah, there's this new zombie comic that just came out just a few months ago. And I was like, okay, where are they at? And he pointed over to, they had the first 3 issues of The Walking Dead. I had no clue what they were. So I walk over and I open up the first issue. Mm-hmm. And I just kind of thumb through it. And it said black and white. And all the other comics I read were color. Mm-hmm. Nice computer graphics. This was black and white, penciled inked. That was it. And I looked over at him and I was like, this isn't black and white, man. I was like, they don't have a color version? He said, no, that's the way the comic book is, but it's a really good story so far. And I was like, I'm not reading this crap. And I just put them back on the shelf, all 3 of them. I could have bought the first 3 issues of The Walking Dead for $3 a pop, under $10. The first issue alone is worth over $1,200 now in near mint condition. So,
good job.
You live, you learn.
Good job.
That was like everybody after that, after the show took off and the comics skyrocketed in value. Now, if somebody's like, hey, there's this new book coming out, I'm like, really? Tell me about it. Because I'm like,
you never know.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many number 1s I've bought. And if the story's good, I don't care what the art looks like. If the story's good, I will get it. But that's my blunder back in 2003, 14 years ago.
No, well.
Speaking of, next year is the 15th anniversary of The Walking Dead.
How about that?
No doubt.
How about that? Oh, well. Back to the show.
We covered just about everything.
I mean, you wanted to compare seasons and all that kind of mess, but I really just look at it as a whole. And, there's this episode, and I really can't think of another episode that I would just be like, I don't care to watch that again. If it's on TV, they're going to do that marathon. we had cable, and I just happened to turn it on, I'd be sitting here 4 hours later watching it, no matter where it was.
Exactly. Even though it's on Netflix, you still manage to watch it. It's weird.
That's why I'll never turn it on Netflix, because I'll be sitting here 2 days later.
You know, this is like
wondering what happened.
This is a quick thought I'm having, and I know I keep getting off track, but I think what we ought to do is me, you, and Sarah ought to sit down probably the week before Christmas. We ought to sit down and watch just the pilot episode and give a new review on it. Be like, okay, look at all the characters that are still alive. Look at how everybody's changed. Look at just the beginning. Awesome. Of course, you couldn't really do that with a pilot episode because the only people there were Rick and Morgan. And Morgan's little boy. Our legacy tokens are working. Yeah. You have to actually put a space between UNN and the number for that to work. But yeah, this episode was fun. It had a really slow, I don't want to say weak, but it was slow first half. Slow. The second half really made up for it.
It did.
But this was not a perfect episode by any means.
Nah. Like, if it hadn't picked up, I was just like, ugh.
I really like where his character's going.
Yes, that really saved a lot on this show. Is his character really shined and developed, and
Eugene, in my opinion, right now is probably the most well-acted character on the show. The most believable, anyway, because he's really starting to lose it. Because at first I was thinking that at the end he was just hearing the gunfire in his head, but he was actually hearing it outside the walls, and it was just he's realizing that he's not safe anymore, because the whole reason he was doing everything is because he had the safety of Sanctuary, the Sanctuary of Sanctuary. He had the walls. He didn't have to worry about zombies coming after him. The biggest thing he had to deal with was Negan, and he knew how to play Negan.
Oh, yeah, and he still does. He's still playing him like a freaking fiddle.
So,
and I think it's pretty cool to see somebody do Negan that way. Because Negan's pretty smart himself. You know.
Now, I do want to say, in case anybody's wondering, Single Sarah couldn't be here tonight. She was going to come, but she had to go home and take care of some stuff, and she wasn't going to be able to make it back here till like 20 minutes into the episode, and it just wouldn't have made any sense to come just for that. But she might be back for the season finale.
Yeah,
or
she'll
the mid-season finale.
She'll probably be here. It just didn't happen tonight.
God, the only thing that sucks is like, we have to be up early on Monday morning.
I know. I already thought about it.
And it's going to be a 90-minute. That was the first. You know, you're getting older. Like, I'm 34 now.
We're going to lose 30 minutes of sleep.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Like, whenever you have to get up really early on weekdays, and they're like, you love The Walking Dead? And, we are out of Chattanooga. Eastridge, technically, but Chattanooga, Tennessee. And good to see you here, Devasso.
Devasso.
But yeah, you're getting old whenever your favorite TV show comes on. It's the mid-season finale, and they're like, it's going to be a special 90-minute episode, and you're like, crap, it's not going to be over to 10:30. There goes 30 minutes of sleep I could have had.
Oh, that's cool. Oh crap, we got to get up early.
Yeah. So we're gonna literally.
I'm gonna hate myself that day.
Yeah.
Like really hate myself.
Like I said, we're literally gonna be.
But that's okay, because you know what? After this year, I'm gonna have my own car, and it won't be a thing.
Yeah, that will be pretty sweet. But trust me, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, me too.
So, the season so far, I don't want to go giving the half season a grade yet.
No, I'd rather wait till next.
I think, we're going to have to wait, because right now, just being honest, it's kind of low for me. There's been some, and that's, God, I'm so torn, because so far the season has been, I want to say kind of mediocre, but there's been so many great moments.
No, it's not. For me, it's not. It's been really action-packed. It's been really go, go, go. This episode was really slow, But every other episode for me has been pretty good. But, you know, we've already discussed this, and you don't want to admit it this time, but you had no problem admitting it last review that, you know, if you can't see Negan, it's not a perfect 10. And you did say that. If you want to go look at the video.
It can, I know, but it can be a 10 without Negan. But they have to try a little harder when he's not around.
Yeah, now they do, because he's here. I'm just saying, you're a tad biased.
Yes, I am.
Just a tad.
Devasso says, you're getting old when your childhood shows are in black and white. Well, ours were, but not. They were shows. It was more like shows that our parents grew up with, that they watched, and then.
Even our parents' shows weren't in black and white, honey. I'm just saying.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, my parents' shows.
By the 40s and 50s, they were already in color.
Younger, rather.
But yeah. Anyway, that's just about it. I do wish we could stick around and talk a little bit more.
Well, what's your number rating for the show?
Ooh.
What are you gonna give it?
7.
Okay. I mean, that's what I was gonna give it, and then it got picked up, so I'm gonna give it an 8.
Oh, I'll go ahead and say
the last 20 minutes really, really kicked it into 12th gear.
If they would have kept the episode at the 40 minutes, if they would 40 minutes into the hour, if it would have ended then before everything got good,
I probably would have gave it a 6 or 7. Yeah,
I would have been in the 3.5 or 4 range. I was not feeling the first 20 minutes.
It was rough. It was really, really rough.
So I'm going to give this episode a 7, and this actually had Negan in it. Not a lot.
Yeah,
but he was there.
He was there too, and I'm a Negan fan just like you are, but still, that didn't make up for it.
Not at all.
Eugene made up for it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So, but yeah, 8.
Like they could have just had the episode of the scene with Dwight and Eugene.
See you later.
They could have had just Dwight and Eugene together.
Oh.
Hey, Master Chief, welcome to the stream. Yeah. We are actually just about to wrap our review. I gave the episode tonight of The Walking Dead
a 7.
A 7.
I gave it an 8.
Amber gave it an 8.
The reason I give it an 8 is because I don't like giving half points. It probably really is a 7.5, but I hate that. It bothers me. So 8. I don't want to round it down.
I'm going to have to go back. It would take a while, but I should have been doing this since the beginning. Mm-hmm. I need to go back to all of our old reviews and write down what score I gave for each episode. But God, that would take time, because sometimes I give a review number right at the beginning. Sometimes I give it right at the end, and sometimes
you'd have to sit there.
Sometimes, like tonight, I'll give it a 7. And then talk for another 20 minutes. It's like right in the middle of the episode.
Yes.
But anyway, thank you everybody for coming on and watching us tonight. This is The Spoiling Dead. We're going to be back we're going to be back next week for the final episode of this mid-season. It's going to be the mid-season finale. The episode will be 90 minutes, and so we will be going live at right about 10:30, and we'll probably be doing about a half-hour show. But like I said, the season so far has been pretty good. And we're going to be probably... Next week's going to be like one of those note-taking episodes. I'm going to have to sit down and probably write down stuff.
Yeah, that's probably a thing.
But yeah, lots of cool stuff. If you are interested, go back and look. We have 105 other reviews of The Walking Dead. Reviewed every single episode up to this point. That was a hell of a project.
But you did it.
Yep. But anyway, hope everybody has a good rest of the night. I will be on tomorrow playing some kind of a single-player video game.
Last I looked, Mass Effect was winning on the thing.
Really?
Yes.
Cool. Okay.
But I ain't looked since then. And that was right after you put it out.
I'm pretty sure myself and Mark, who I typically do comic book malarkey with, and he hasn't been on the channel since like early October.
Yeah.
He's had a lot of stuff going on job-wise, So he is actually going to be coming back Tuesday morning at some point. He and I are going to be playing co-op, probably the original Halo. So that's like the original Halo, not the remastered, but the original Halo.
Hello.
So anyway, that's pretty much it for tonight. I appreciate everybody coming on and watching, checking us out and everything. I'm Lonnie.
I'm Amber.
And we are Untitled Nerd Network, brought to you by Infinity Flux out of Hickson, Tennessee. And this has been number 106 of The Spoiling Dead. This episode of Walking Dead was called Time for After. Everybody have a good rest of the night, and thanks for coming by and watching.